Hi everybody, this is Kevin, and welcome back to another manga review. And last time we started out with Battle Angel Alita, the Deluxe Edition, Volume 1, Part 1, The Rusty Angel, once again created, written, and drawn by Yukito Kishiro. And today, because it went on pretty long, it was like a 12-minute video, today we're going to take a look at Part 2. This is Volume 2, Iron Maiden. So, once again, thank you again, Samurai Oki, for recommending this. I very much have enjoyed it. I already placed my order for Deluxe Edition Volume 2 and 3, so we can get them and read them real quick. And once again, the artwork is terrific. This is sort of picking up from the last part here where she severed Makaku's both his arms there, and she says she's going to bury him down here. So they're having a final bout here, and what happens is Mukaku's able to dodge attacks, and he's just sort of playing the waiting game. And what he does is he comes out of his shell. You saw in the first volume that he was a sort of snake being, his head like a snake, and he's saying, "I was born in the sewers, and I will die in the sewers, as will you." And what he does is he sort of initiates this explosion, which causes all the water to come in and drown them, and so that she can't use her plasma blast from her hand. And then you get his sort of backstory, and you find out why he's a villain, because that's him right there. And he says that his mother, as soon as he was born in the toilet and flushed down into the sewers. And he's sort of, everyone's looking at him like, look at the size of that sewer rat. And then they start burning him, and you see his flesh just decaying, and he's falling and dying. And then this other guy finds him, who sort of looks similar to Dr. Ido. He has that insignia on his forehead, just like Dr. Ido. And he says, "I'll give you a brand new body." And that's sort of what forms him into become a cyborg. And Alita takes note of the fact that that doctor who brought him to life here has that mark of Dr. Ido. And, she defeats him once and for all. And that's that. So she makes her way back to, this is taking place, I guess, some time after. And she wakes up and she sees this boy here who assists her getting her up. And it's like, "Oh man, you're heavy." And she's looking at him. I mean, at this point, she hasn't really had any human interaction aside with Dr. Ido. And this boy here introduces himself as Yugo, and she sort of falls in love with him right away. I mean, she's never really felt anything like that before. And, she's getting another human contact, even though she's not human. But, she has these sort of feelings. But, so it recounts how she kind of met Yugo, and she's fighting these bad guys, and the one cyborg turns into a werewolf, and like I said, I mean, the artwork's just boom, boom, action, and it's getting all sloppy, and she falls down and wakes up with Hugo. And she sees Hugo here, and he's basically looking for scraps, and that's how he gets by. He sells scrap parts, and, Alita's kind of looking at him like, "You can't do that, like, that was a human body once," and he's like, "Well, I need to live, I need to eat." So the werewolf guy comes back, and they keep battling, and she and Yugo part, and then you get this sort of thing where this masked guy is offering people oil, and to oil them up, because they're all cyborgs and robots. So he starts oiling them up, and he stabs him in the back, and he rips out his spine, and then the masked man takes it off, and it's revealed to be Yugo, and he's selling spinal parts, like you saw earlier. He's scrounging for parts and for money. And it's revealed that, I guess, he's sort of a villain. He's stealing people's spines. And then he's here at Dr. Ido's lab here, fixing the windmill. And that guy who had his spine stolen is getting worked on by Dr. Ido. Dr. Ido's patching him up. And he actually is like, "Oh, is it just me, or do you sound awful like the kid who attacked me?" And then you get introduced to Zapan again, who was sort of the ringleader at the Kansas bar of the other Hunter Warriors. And he's watching, he knows what's going on here. And Alita and Dr. Ido are doing their hunting duties in the evening, and she's really not in it. Dr. Ido's doing all the work, and she's kind of just thinking about Yugo. And Dr. Ido's like, "What's got into that girl?" And wow, look at the cityscape there of what's going on. And you see these sort of things up there. That connects to the floating city of Zalem, which is what Hugo's trying to do. He's trying to raise 10 million chips so that he can get a one-way ticket up to Zalem, which is where the sort of humans live, as the cyborgs and lesser humans live down on the regular planet. So once again, Yugo's getting bounties and stuff, and he meets this shadowy figure who introduced himself as Vector. And Alita's hanging out by Yugo's house, and you have Zapan doing some eavesdropping, seeing what's going on, and Alita's just waiting, and Vector takes him back, and he's all drugged and drunk, and basically just goes back into his house here, and she notices the axe there. What's going on with that? So you get this flashback about how Vector's saying, you know, you don't have to kill all these people. We're going to do some, I'll have you do other work to get by. More shady work, more trafficking-related work, and you can be a kingpin down on the other city with me, because Vector says that he was living on Zalem for some time, but wasn't really exiled, but sort of came down here because he could make a small fortune here. So Zapan, who was eavesdropping, knows all about Yugo's plans, and he is like, oh, oil me up, Yugo. And Yugo goes to oil him up, and Zapan tricks him and punctures him in you know, this sort of shoulder neck area to try and get Yugo, and he's ready to kill him. And he's got it all videoed so that they can put a bounty on Yugo's head. He starts killing all of Yugo's buddies there. And miraculously, he's able to get away, to which he calls Vector. And is like, you know, they're after me. So makes her way back to Alita and Ido, doing their whole thing, and Zapan brings the heads of Yugo's friends there and says, oh, your boyfriend, Yugo, is messing with the wrong guys. They're killing people. They're stealing people's spines, and there's a bounty on his head. What will you do now, Alita, the brave hunter warrior you are? So here's the bounty for Hugo. And for the only way to fulfill a bounty is to sever their head and bring their head in. So Alita's trying to really rush to Yugo's defense to try and get the whole story out of it. And Zapan here is battling Dr. Ido and really kind of manhandles him and is going to use him as leverage for later. So once again, they're talking here, and he's like, I'm screwed. I'm never going to get to Zalem. And Alita's saying, well, what's so great about Zalem anyway? And they sort of have a heart-to-heart, and she kisses him. And I mean, I don't know, man. She's a robot, and he's a human, but I guess that's how she feels. So he gives the story about how he was raised by his big brother and his big brother's wife, and they had all these plans to go up to Zalem, and he built a balloon to travel up there. And in the underworld here, that's illegal. And so the daughter ratted him out, and Yugo was coming home from school one day or whatever. He says, hey, big bro, there's a big explosion outside there, and all these bounty hunters, including this scary-looking guy, are there, and they kill his brother and sever his head as the bounty. So for that, ever since then, Yugo's been trying to find a way to Zalem, and one day he's out there traversing the streets, and he sees this hand for sale, and he recognizes it as his big brother's. So he wants the hand, and they're like, are you nuts? And he doesn't have the money because it was like 16,000 chips. So Vector sees him and says, all right, I'll let you do it. And he changes his hand as a memento, so he has his brother's hand on there. So he's already sort of a cyborg. You can kind of see the scar. And they said, you know, you want your scar removed? He said, no, I want it as a sort of remembrance of my big bro. And then this shadowy figure comes in. You see the boot there, and it's the bounty hunter that killed his big bro. And he's, I guess he wants the same thing to happen. And he just punches Hugo right in the side there and decapitates his arm. You see the way that he's being held there? I mean, look at that. He just totally decapitated his arm. He's got his head, and he's got his arm ready for a karate chop to karate chop his head off. And Alita comes in and trying to rescue her love there. And, I mean, look at him. He's got blood and guts hanging out there. It's absolutely crazy. And she's crying. She uses her plasma blast on this hunter warrior, which is totally against the code. You cannot kill other hunter warriors, especially when they're in the middle of retrieving their bounty. So now it's possible that Alita could have a bounty on her head. And Hugo's still alive somehow. He's holding on. And she's like, we got to get him to safety. We got to get him to Dr. Ido's lab. So she's racing across the land here. And Zapan's there. And he sees her carrying a body. He's like, oh, is that Hugo? Are you going to turn in the bounty, Alita? How can you betray your love. And you see he's got Dr. Ido suspended above there as leverage. And Zapan says, show the head, show the head. And so she's got a head wrapped up there, and she reveals Yugo's head. And they're like, how'd you kill him? Why would you kill him? And Zapan's like, he's not dealing with any tricks, so he rips off the rest of the body. And what happened is Alita had her, this sort of thing, these cords hooked up to her life stream into Yugo's head to keep him alive. And so his head technically is decapitated, and she's not taking any more shit, so she just uses the plasma blast and kills Zapan. So, well, I'm sure I'll be back later, but, you know, because you see his head there, and he's just wandering away, and you see Vector's reading the paper. He's like, oh, shit, you know, Hugo, he's done it this time. But, you know, miraculously, Alita makes it back to Dr. Ido's lab. They give Hugo a cyborg body, and he's just pissed off because, honestly, would you want to be a cyborg? I know if my time came, I wouldn't want to be a cyborg. I say, that's it. That's the end of the road for me. I get that this is the post-apocalyptic world. People will keep going on any way they can, but that's just the way it is. So Alita and Hugo are making their way to Vector to make their way to Zalem, and he shows up like that. You can kind of see his feet look, you know, robotic, and Vector's like, oh, Hugo, what are you doing here? Oh, you're alive. And he gives up the chips, and then he reveals, well, I can't really send you up to Zalem like that, but I can send you up to Zalem like that, meaning that when he chops him up and sends him as organs to be studied. So Vector summons his other bodyguard here, who's going to battle, and he's no match for Alita. Alita just beats him single-handedly. Got the pages stuck together. This is like the last page. And Hugo's got Vector by the throat there, and that's where this volume ends. So a nice cliffhanger. I already ordered the next book, so I can't wait to read the next book. This is talking about the sort of crimes. Like, in between every volume, they have a sort of lore about all the crimes that go on and the sort of criminal system they have. And like I said, this is the sequel, which is concluded now. It's 19 volumes from 2000 to 2014. Battle Angel Alita Last Order, which we'll check that out when we finish this. And yeah, I love it. I think the series is quite good. It's a shame the movie didn't make as much money as they were hoping for, because it doesn't look like we're going to get any sequels in terms of the movie, especially now that Disney owns Fox. But James Cameron has a lot of leverage, so if he wants to do it, he can do it. And I mean, Robert Rodriguez is a big-name director as well. And yeah, if you haven't read manga before, I'd recommend reading this. Like I said, the only manga I've ever read is Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z, and now Battle Angel Alita. So definitely recommend. And yeah, look forward to more manga reviews coming soon. Look forward to more American comic book reviews. Look forward to my review of Vinland Saga coming soon. And that's about all I got for today. So thanks for watching, everybody, and have a great day.